flowers and roses, such would astound you. The joy of children laughing around you. These are the makings of you. It is true, the makings of you. The righteous way to go, little one would know.
Boom, 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 boom. The righteous way to go, little one would know. Okay? So, peace to the family. We're here on a pop-up. I love these pop-ups. You tell me I couldn't have popped up with anybody more qualified, more bona fide, and more excellent, okay, than my Virgo Sunshine, a.k.a. Sunshine Woman L, here in the building with the astrological, astronomical, mathematical breakdown of 40 acres and fool's gold. Okay, so because of honor and privilege at the time to introduce something that the other one who is sweeping across the universe, gathering folks along the way and telling them, get on board, little children. You understand what I'm saying? Towards this path of righteousness, towards this path of sovereignty, towards this path of reclamation. Okay? Miss Sunshine, Woman and peace to the God. How you feeling? How you
feeling? Peace, y'all. Always a great introduction. Peace to everybody.
I think today should be war, y'all. Let's do a little war for a minute. Okay, let's get a little war. Get a little war chant. You understand what I'm saying? This is our land. Okay? This is our land. Can we gentrify? We got some juju for the gentrifier. Can we gentrify the asses back to the volcano? Can we do that? Is that okay?
This for the gentrifiers. This for the Papa Legba, Yeshua, Ilegua. Come out. Papa Legba, Yeshua, Ilegua. Yes, we was here first. They came here on a boat. They'll leave here in a hearse. They'll leave here through the dirt. They're going through the earth. We're channeling the ancestors to undo their curse. Cause once upon a time, we all could read and write. That legalese is lies. Strong men spell curse of ties. Strong men all caps disguise. They've gentrified our lives. We've redefined their sights. We've redefined their kind. Yes, this is juju music. This shit here is voodoo music. This shit here is voodoo music. When you chant, they gonna lose it. Yes, this is juju music. This shit here is voodoo music. Yes, this shit is voodoo music. When you chant, they gonna lose. When you chant, they gonna lose. Which ancestor you gon' choose? Play their game, but by our rules. I'm Queen Annie the Maroon. I am Queen of Dongo. I am Queen of Zinga. I am Yenaga, I'm Carlotta and Fermina. Cause this is juju music. This shit here is voodoo music. When you chant, they gonna lose. Which ancestor you gon' shoot? Cause this is juju music. This shit here is voodoo music. When you chant, they gonna lose. Which ancestor you gon' choose? Cause I am a goddess, I am a priestess. I chant these mantras and they all repeat it. If we make a promise, this land we gon' seize it. Get vengeance for Mother Earth treason. This ain't the gentrifier. This for the gentrifiers. This for the gentrifiers. This for the gentrifiers. Repetition of empires. Invading land with gunfire. Slavery not posters for hire. Income not what you desire. Outcome working jobs for hours. Mindset waiting to retire. Never stop working for dollars. Cause this is juju music. This shit here is voodoo music. Which ancestor you gon' choose? When you chant, they gon' lose. Cause this is juju music. This shit here is voodoo music. Which ancestor we gon' choose? When we chant, they gonna lose. I mean, my spirit guides come in with that sin. My ancestors defend. I got that juice to transcend. I mean, my spirit guides come in with that sin. My ancestors, I got that juice we gon' choose. Hey, choose, choose. Cause when we chant, they gonna lose. Which ancestor we gon' choose?
That was pretty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As soon as I seen that movie, in the first couple minutes of the film, I was like, "Yep, this was supposed to have been in there all through." You know what I'm saying? Like all through the joint. So yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. You know, your overall thoughts of the movie, how you find the movie, because the movie ain't really available everywhere like that. I had to do a little find it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I see why." Okay, no doubt. Yeah.
My Instagram shows me like random movies, like black movies. Um,
Mm,
because I follow all those kind of like apps and stuff like that with black movies and Tubi movies and all that stuff like that. And when I seen it and I seen the summary and the caption, I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to watch this. And so I had a bookmark and I hadn't watched it for a minute, but then eventually well actually it didn't even come out yet. I found out about it too early. So that was a relief. But I had wanted to go to the movies to see it, but it was limited. And I see why.
mm.
But I ended up finding it online somewhere and I watched it. I watched it a couple times. It's a very good movie. I enjoyed myself.
Yes, 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 yes. I think the director's name was Archie Thornton or something like that. Look at the director real quick.
Okay. Did he do anything else? Is this his first project?
It's his directorial debut.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was a music video director. That
Okay.
was his first joint. Now he did some writing and some other stuff other places. But yeah, this is directorial debut.
Wow. He did an amazing job. I really enjoyed all the symbolism in it. Like I noticed in the beginning, like of course their names were Freemans. They were Freeman. Um the fact you know what book it reminded me of, like when I read the summary, it reminded me of I might butcher the title. I think it's called like Iceman Chronicles, something like
The
that.
Iceman Inheritance.
Iceman Inheritance, yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know where I got Chronicles from. uh
Chronicles of Riddick.
Probably. But like it made me think of that because it was like they going back to like their innate nature of being cannibals and moving from that, how they move when they're in a space of scarcity versus
Mhm.
how we move because we know nature is in abundance. So it's just like uh you see that balance, that imbalance there with them in the future. It's kind of like reverting back to past stuff. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, the time frame. They always give a time frame and not a date. They always show something post apocalyptic, like they don't like this thing just happens in a flash, and then all of a sudden this is the after effects. Like now, this is what was the joint with Tina Turner and them Mad Max.
Mm,
So they always have some teetering into something post apocalyptic. So whether it's I Am Legend or the Book of Eli or any of these things, they have this space where which they have it. But this is kind of like Resident Evil, right? Without them inferring something Walking Dead, right?
mhm.
So they put all of this stuff kind of together in this way in Canada, of all places. In Canada, of all places, right? So I mean, you could say, okay, this guy's Canadian, so he gonna do it in his backyard, blah blah blah. Now, what was he implying though? If you remember the Purge, they don't promote the Purge like it's post-apocalyptic, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So they promote it like, oh, okay, we only get savage once a year. And you seen that Strangers Part Two, right?
Mm-mm.
You
No.
didn't? You
That's
sure?
not my that's not my taste of movies, but I'm listening. I'm following.
Oh, but the Strangers, you remember the Strangers film?
Nope.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting. It's like they go around uh, going in people's houses that's home and torturing them.
Yeah, I don't like stuff like that.
So it was interesting on what it was because it was like 2008, and it was like, well, I'm just going to in regards to motive. They was like, why'd you do it? We thinking you about to get this crazy explanation, like blah blah blah, whatever. And the girl said because you were home.
Hmm.
That's it. You understand what I'm saying? Like we be trying to put all of this stuff on there, like blah blah blah. Oh no, they were hungry. Oh no, this person was mentally ill. Oh no, this. Oh no, it's poverty. Oh no, it's this. Nah, move the food out of the way, and what are they going to do? They're going to eat. They're not going to starve, and they're going to go right back to their default programming. They barely eat the meat with it being cooked in the first place. So automatically they don't have these kinds of presets that we're seeking to ascribe to them. You understand what I'm saying? So
Mm.
this movie was a space where it's like, all right, your empire has fallen. So the only thing matters is eating, right? Only
Mm.
thing matters is eating. And you had destroyed the earth, so the earth no longer wants to give you food. Look at who the earth is feeding. Look who's
Mm.
in tune with nature, right? Who's back in tune with their nature, and look who the earth is feeding versus who the earth is punishing. It's real simple, but it's real coordinated. So I love the story that they show between the mother and son, uh, her and Emmanuel, of all names, right? So he's there with his mother. He's the widow's son because they don't mention his father at all. They mention her father,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't mention his father at all, right? So you see the only begotten son, right, with his mother, and the relationship between him and his mother uh, is close and it looks estranged at the same time, right? Sort of like the
Mm-hmm.
parable, sort of like how it goes, like what you looking for me for? You understand what I'm saying? Like they show this thing back and forth, but they're one in the same. They're one in the same as far as the mother and child, the Madonna and child, situation versus the father, right? The father has the same sort of, the stepfather over here, right? He has some of the same presets, but he has another approach of parenting, right? You see the difference in the parenting styles. I want to, definitely get your thoughts on that and how he is with his daughters versus how he is with Emmanuel, and how she is with Emmanuel versus how she is with her daughters, right? So this is it doesn't automatically read like this is a family that's together either. It develops into you recognizing, okay, oh, this is a whole family. You understand? Not a survival group of people that's along the way with these missions and these jobs, because this is the thing that goes first. And when this is first, this is fine. And when it's defunct, everything's defunct. So I just want to, get your thoughts on that from a familiar perspective.
Yeah. Initially, it did seem like it was just like a group of survivalists on a compound together. The mother did seem like very hard. I remember there is a scene where she walks up to her dad, and it seems as if the dad was raising
Mm-hmm.
the son for the first few years of his life,
Right.
and so like that's in his root. So that's what he's holding on to. Um, I'm not sure like the series of events thereafter, they don't show too much, but
Mm-hmm.
it kind of gives basis to the story of like why is some sort of space there. And then it's like not only is there like a distance here, but now I have to accept a stepfather as well. Like this isn't even my dad at all.
Mm-hmm.
So he's completely removed from his root and put into this space, and then he's consistently reminded of how much he's needed.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to protect us. We need you to have our back. We need you to do this, do that. And it's like he's still having dreams of the younger him just sitting and observing and
Right.
putting himself in a position where things just keep happening to him.
Right.
And he just has to sit through it and just sit and observe it, and he doesn't do anything. And at one point he has a dream about a horse,
Mm-hmm.
and the horse is kind of wounded, but in the end of the dream the horse kind of jumps up like it's about to charge or start running. And to have a dream about a horse means to have some sort of like desire to break free, to break free from restriction, to walk into your confidence or your independence, because horses are very independent animals. And to see such a confident, independent energy, have wounds, that's kind of like showing where he's coming from. Like I'm in this period of time where like I'm starting to be treated like a man, but not a man at the same time.
Right.
I've been quiet. I've been taking orders. I got my wounds, whatever it is he's holding on to, and now I'm ready to break free. And it seems like right after he had that dream of that horse, he started making his own decisions. Now, were they the best decisions? No, they was pissing me off. He just kept making bad decision after bad decision, but they were his decisions nonetheless. And I like that even though he was doing what he was doing and going through what he was going through, his mom would get upset, but it was how she was communicating to him still like, listen, I know you beating yourself up over this, but you still was a quick problem solver. You still, made sure your sister was good. You did what you had to do. Like she still speaks life into her son despite his
Mm-hmm.
decisions he keep making. Like he made a silly decision to, I don't want to spoil, but I'm about to spoil her. But
Love it.
he runs off or whatever, and she runs off after him, to save him. So it's just like, it's that unconditional love. You keep doing these silly things and I'm still going to run after you. I'm going to go through all these things for you. And then I'm still going to accept the changes you're trying to make, because they went through all of that with, the girl that he met, and he still wanted her around, and she, accepted it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, that unconditional love a mother has for the son, and then also that son's need to bump their head and make those decisions and go outward is a big thing.
There's a buck process, right? He's a young buck or
Mhm.
a young bull. So there's a space of breaking. If you remember, he shot that horse. It looked like that horse was about to get him. This was a real life experience that they want to recall him.
Mhm.
And she's like, where everybody else laid out, everybody else done. Pops is on his last leg. You understand the whole joint? Where my son at? You know what I'm saying? She go in the joint, ready to get busy. She hit the corner. He hit the corner from behind the hay with the bong. Like I'm like, oh, they was about to. You understand? So like that. That's not a thing that you can train into a young person. Either they innately have that inclination or they don't, and that's their twin where they could both see each other, right?
Mhm.
On the other end of the gun, right? So the mother and the son, the mother. They both children because they both were wounded and traumatized very young. Her relationship with her father wasn't that pastor that was walking around hugging on everybody and praying and all that. No
Mhm.
parts of that. So her escape was the military. So everything that her father prepared her for military life. Otherwise, she wouldn't have made it. You understand? So when she came back suited and booted. She came back probably to clap pop dukes. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like the, Emmanuel saved her father's life and gave her a reason to want to kind of have a soft place, right? Because there was no softness in her. And the things that she saw from the life that she lived and the wars that she was exposed to made her even harder. You understand? So
Mhm.
now this is where she met the native. You understand what I'm saying? She met him in the military. So their bond is forged through they know war, but then they know the vulnerabilities of one another. So they communicate in a way that they don't share out, but it's still shared in the family, right? So the family aspect is coveted, is sacred, but the work takes precedence over what it is. There's no family if everybody not on point.
Mhm.
So everybody has a buy-in and an understanding down to the baby girl. Like I said before we started. So Shorty said, I got a headshot. You understand? Like this ain't the first time she done bombed that thing. You understand what I'm saying? So the way that the space is fortified and how you thinking that these people are gonna be able to encroach in a kind of way was at the beginning completely different than how we saw it later on. When the defenses was broke, everything was broken down. Everybody wasn't on point. When the family part, like, so we look at the mission, like the mission is first, but the family was really first. That's the
Mhm.
reason why they was able to do what they had to do with the mission. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
that's something that works together. What it look like in a space of clarity versus what it look like in the state of fear. And I got Securing the Legacy, the ebook that explains that we don't operate from a space of fear, we operate from a space of clarity. So if you're not operating from that space of clarity, you're gonna make decisions based off of fear, you know.
Mhm.
So that fear template is what the enemies were calculating and they were banking on. This is how they was going from farm to farm doing what they was doing because of fear, right? So she was, you know, and I'll let you get into that breakdown. Her relationship with the lady who was the Marine who helped out on the side of the road, there's a space where she's indebted, but there's also a space of separation. Like, nah, you don't know me. You understand what I'm saying? That's what she said the entire time to her. Like,
Mhm.
be word, you don't know me. You understand what I'm saying? Like, nah. But she said it like it was a jest, but she was reminding herself, don't get too far into what this is. You understand? So when Shorty came over there, that was her kinfolk, she said, I expected you to kill her. You understand? Like there was no questions asked. Like I found dead. You already knew. You take your ass over there if you want to. You're going to be dead. And that was supposed to be what she already understood. But the fact of the space where some compassion could be seen, when he's seeing Shorty, I'm like, Shorty seen him way before. All right. We're a little slow in that department. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm like, if he's seen her, she's seen him a long time ago. So he out there trying to do his little thing, and she revealed it. When she said that, I'm like, but it was already with the other. Remember that he had caught the lady at the beginning, and he stabbed her, and she was still alive. That point was key, right? God is love in the heart, and for God so loved the world. The John 3:16 situation. He stabs her, and he misses the heart. And his
Mhm.
sister said, "You always miss the heart." And
Mhm.
they said it like it was a joke, but it was a foreshadow, right? Always Mr. Hart. Like we got to deal with this all the time. And he had to clean up his mess. You know what I'm saying? My Duke, like, you better handle that. him left, I him left. You understand what I'm saying? So he's there. So there's a space where I went a long way around to be talking about this buck situation, this buck and this buck breaking, because it was a thing in the family where everybody could not afford to be off point. Anytime somebody was off point in that spot, they was done up. Sure, they got shot. You know what I'm saying? Uh, or buddy got bopped in the head. You know what I'm saying? Like he thinking he's seeing something from nature. Like I'm having a, nah, you off point, dude. And they got you. They knew what everybody's lore was, what their weakness was, right? So we get Duke to come over here, my Duke coming over there, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's half of the line of defense, and someone who's militaristically always on point, off point. All we just got to do is contend with this one dude, and that's it. So it's a space where which you know we train in all of those aspects, so there is no weak link. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no weak link. So looking at this, it was a perfect setup, and it wasn't like it was 20 of them. The numbers were small, but the numbers were mighty when there were one. Versus when something was fractionalized or somebody was off point. Like he told Shorty go in the house. Shorty went and got that joint and started tapping. You understand what I'm saying? Like it wasn't even no thought. And the girl on the table, she's still ready to fight. You understand? The little girl, she ready to fight. So it's natural that they're in that environment, even with extreme duress. You know what I'm saying? So this buck breaking thing of wanting to get loose and wanting to rebel and wanting to be free and wanting to try your own thing, it was short lived because you seen the consequences of it. And you seen somebody who ain't had none of that training and they was just cannon fodder. Them other cats that they had over there, they was just cannon fodder. They was like, oh, we just saving them for snacks for later. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you really food out here. So it's getting the society to see, like, you're the food. You're the commodity. And at any time a flip of a switch, you know what I'm saying? You out here to be taken, to be eaten, to be ravished in whatever kind of place it is. And this is the picture that they're painting for this quote unquote civilized post apocalyptic society. That's their guys. And that's what they're working in. Because that's what we're in right now. We're not in a civilized society. We're in a post apocalyptic society. You just waiting for the natural disaster or the debris to start falling and whatever the case may be. But you in it, right? You in it. So it's cyclic. It comes right before civilized societies or empires or dynasties fall. Chaos and confusion. We lived through Great Depression, World Wars, all that. Don't tell me you ain't in a post-apocalyptic society. All of the evidence is there. So, yeah, I went on a tangent there, but that buck breaking was something deep in that regard to the decisions that it led to, but it was a part of his destiny. If this is the Osirian tale, you got to lose an eye to see sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So if you look at the Nile Valley culture, the hero or the hero got to go through some sort of initiation in order to be victorious.
Mm-hmm. To go to your point of when the mother was talking to the other woman, when she kept saying like, "You don't know me, you don't know me," like again, to agree with you, yeah, I did see like the consistent need to put up a boundary, whenever they spoke, because it was always like I can joke around with you. I'm one of the good ones. We could be cool. And it was always like that consistent need to put up that boundary, like, yeah, you cool, but we not cool. And so like and another scene where she was asking her to, can you go to the farms and at least teach them military your military knowledge, that'll at least help them out, da, da, da. And she's trying to tell her, I have my own things going on here, you know what I'm saying? And, just like she told her kids, do you see anybody helping us? Do you see anybody coming here to volunteer their services? No. So And that's how it's always been. This woman has been holding down the household. She's the militant one in there. I'm sure the the husband has information too, but they don't really specify nothing too much with him to my awareness. Maybe I need to watch it again. But she's been holding it down, and it's like this, woman comes here and she's like, yeah, we see you holding it down over there. Can you help us? Can you help us with our movement and what we got going on? And it's like, no, you see how hard I work every day to hold it down over here? That woman had to go cry in a room by herself. You know what I'm saying? Because they had a drill and her kids was nowhere where they were supposed to be, and she's trying to like be at ease and make sure that everything is okay and everything's perfect. They got the land, they got their freemen, they stay free. It even said in the caption at the beginning of the movie, like the land is, the best resource, or the it's like the richest thing, the best thing to have at that period of time is farmland, to be able to farm your own things. So, like, she's been holding all of this down by herself, and that's the story, of Black women. Like, we be holding it down by ourselves, we cry in the dark, we're holding it down for our man, we're holding it down for these children, bonus babies, trying to uphold all these things. And then here comes, Susan, like, oh yeah, we got this cause over here and we really could use your help. Your expertise in what you do. Can you come help us? Can you come save us? No, because where were you guys at when I was crying in the dark by myself? So, I felt that there deeply. And I thought that was dope that she did that. Um I seen other things too, and I like, also to comment on what you said about them saying like we're the commodity, like we're being consumed. Yeah, we are. Despite how rich we have always been, because there's nothing new yeah, it's nothing new under the sun. So land has always been the most resourceful thing to have, the richest thing to have. It's just at some point in time we lost sight of that, looking at all these other shiny things, being delivered off the boats. Look at this, look at this, look at what we got. Just keep trading your land for these things. And so, but the land has always been like the best thing to have. And even in this film, it is. And as rich as they are, um, it's like we're being invaded. We're not bothering you with our things. We're being invaded, and you still have to consume off of us on top of all of that. And then it was crazy because they were being canned, like they were in tubes, like they were,
Right.
mastering preservation of these bodies. And that made me think of the food industry, like how our bodies currently being preserved. What's the preservation? Make you think about like the ratios of like fast food, and not just food that people are consuming, but also the food that gets thrown away each night. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff gets counted too, and not all of that gets counted. It's a lot of food every day, and it's like, where is it coming from? It's not coming. I wouldn't imagine it all coming from the same one animal that it stays. It got to be like a little collage or something.
Right.
But that's what that's the little rabbit hole I mentally went down with that whole thing. And then also, like I said, the ice inheritance of them going back to their natural state of like, straight straightforward cannibalism, but also like that savage, like, how they carry about, like, instead of working together, how this family was always doing. Everybody they were in contact with, they were working together. They weren't trying to steal from them. They had some sense of camaraderie. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Even the boy, when he was with the girl, it's still some sense of camaraderie. I'm not trying to hurt you. I want to help you, blah, blah, blah. Right. And it's like, even though they can't do that, you know what I'm saying? Like this is where we're at in life, and you can't do that. You can't have that sense of camaraderie. You can't talk to us. You can't, have this kind of like no interdependency with us, with the land and the things and stuff. You got to take over and consume, and that's kind of crazy.
Right.
But nothing new under the sun, right? And it's also like hinting at how some things used to be with the whole like, there's magic in eating people, and there was a magic in eating us. There still is. So you can go down that rabbit hole with that too, as well, not just on an energetic, but also like on a flesh level.
Right.
And then there was some other like symbols I appreciated, like in the beginning of the book, in the beginning of the movie, they was like around the table and they was eating dinner, right? And the mom
Right.
was like, she was talking to one of the daughters and she was like, "Did you read the Protalian's pocketbook?" And she says, "No, I read
The
what's
soul's
it? The
parable
Parable of the
of the
Sower."
sower. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you get into what those books are, that also brought me down like a mental, because the proletarian pocketbook is about, working class and money management, but it's also about how to be a revolutionary, in a capitalistic society. And
Right.
so it's kind of like, depends on how you choose to read it. It's a blend of things. Um, but it's coming from that working class capitalistic mindset that if you are looking at the time that they're in, I wouldn't say that was completely dead, but to an extent it was dead. Um, to come back around to that conversation that the mother was having with the other woman when she was trying to ask her to go volunteer to help the other farmers, her response was, "I don't have the luxury of sitting around watching my helpers do the work for me. I actually have to do the work around here." So it still sounded like there was some sense of classism. Like, you got helpers over here, I'm
Right.
still over here doing this by myself. You have the audacity to call my phone. Like, you're not capable. Cause aren't you a Marine? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
you see, like the audacity, like that was a whole thing in itself. And that's something that Black women do indeed experience. Not just from white women, but all other ethnicities and demographics and stuff. It's always like, yeah, can you come over here? We see you over there crying in the dark, but can you come over here and help us do this?
Mhm.
you know, it's always been like that, like even on a personal level and on a grand scheme of things. But okay, rewind back forward. So the
Uh,
mom reading that book about the worker class and capitalism, where the daughter wanted to read the parable of the sower, which was about planting seeds and the four different environments that you might plant a seed in and how that seed was going to grow, how it was going to, fester. And it tells that story through this girl. She's writing in her journal, and she's writing, she lived in a gated community and savages came and ravaged through it after apocalyptic experience, and now they're moving north, and there's this religion, it's called earth seeds. And so like it's like her writing in her journal about this experience. And so
mhm.
it's talking about like the planting of the seeds. And I thought about like the kids and the seeds that they were planting in them. And then I also thought about I thought it was interesting that right after they had that conversation, um, the mom started talking about the corn and how the corn was growing.
Right.
And what else was it about? Oh, it was about the fact that she was talking about working class. And it seems like in this apocalyptic world, even though it was kind of existing, it still didn't exist anymore. So it was kind of like she wanted her to read a book that applied to past experience, while the younger daughter was like, I'm trying to read something more progressive. The girl in the book is traveling to the north. They have a new religion called Earth Seed. It's about planting seeds and how the seeds grow and fester and all that stuff like that. And you think about how a seed is. It blossoms, it blooms, it does all these things. So it's kind of like the mom was kind of like rooted in the past and the way things have been, and the kids were trying to move progressively. So it was like that usual generational tug of war happening there in the family too. But I like how they explained that with like book titles and stuff like that. I also appreciated the joke about the spices. Did you catch that?
Yeah. Yeah.
When the dad found the spices and he
Yeah.
was like, people would kill for these. And then in the end, the lady, what I like about the symbolism of that is this time around the spices were locked behind a metal container with a lock on it. And so
Right.
the lady was trying to get through to the spices and she ended up dying. And then,
Right.
the whole joke was, I told you, people would kill for these.
Right.
And I thought that was a little funny tidbit too.
In his area of expertise, just to add in, he was a healer. He was a
Okay.
medicine man, but he wasn't a nurse. So there was a need for the girl's skill set, but her motives of getting in there weren't correct. So now, this progressive thing that you're talking about that was supposed to be non-existent, both of those two children made them dumbass mistakes because they was trying to be progressive. Shorty got shot up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Shorty got shot up because when you're in the space, there's a detriment to it. There's a detriment to winning all the time, right? So you're in a situation where you have an upper hand because you're prepared, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
that isn't going through the rigmarole, even though we're training with one another, there's still family, right? So the force on force situation was real. Like, hey, stop dancing. You're gonna fight or you're gonna dance. You understand what I'm saying? And she let them turn up, right? She let them turn up, and the next day, Shorty get shot,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's a situation where, oh, buddy, he gets scolded, right? Emmanuel, because he's being Emmanuel. You understand? He's going into puberty, and these things are messing with his mind. Okay, so he's
Mm-hmm.
visioning the girl, blah blah blah. He want to do something with it, blah, blah. All of these things that are natural, right? So if they aren't addressed, he's at a deficit, right? So it's not like his stepfather was going to talk to him about it. So instead of that being a thing, he had the skill sets to be a healer, to recognize the plants for the medicines, all of those things, even down to the spices, all of those things, right? So there was still knowing how to cultivate the land. His skill set wasn't in fortification. He needed her. Her mind was always in that space of weighing out these contingencies because of the fortification. So she's fortified, so the place is fortified.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ill thing that, if you remember what they used with target practice, I was clapping. Like I stood up and clapped. It was like a standing ovation. They were shooting at the cell phones. The cell phones didn't mean nothing. You understand? The
Right.
cell phones was target practice. You understand? So they back with the radios, and they're in this space where they're communicating. But she's monitoring everything and everybody. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? So, the thing that her son said to her, like, oh, you paranoid and blah, 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 this, like he tried to play it to the left, like she was bugging, like, nah, you in the prison and we trying to get, all of that. As soon as he veered off the track, he was in the trap. She knew his
Mm-hmm.
ass was going to go be in the trap. When they was on the radio, it was like, oh, we ain't here for such and such. I said, they dead. They dead. Like, how do you not know? Like, for this lady to be all this Marine, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, just regular shit. Like, they're dead. If you ain't heard from somebody in 3 days in that kind of situation, they're dead. Or they're left for
Mm-hmm.
dead. It's just period. You understand? Like, that situational awareness of not having that. But I'm thinking, though, how long they were there. They didn't just arrive there and pop up because she kept trying to get them off of that land that entire time. She kept trying to get them, oh, come over here, oh, come over, come over. Well, what about this or what about that? Blah, 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 blah. So that subtle approach. And then the danger approach, Shorty just shows the fuck up at the gate where she was supposed to have been executed, right? Like they executed everybody else who came from it. But they ain't executed. So Buddy came in and hit her, right? So this becomes that situation where both have to come to a head in regards to the family, where the family has to have an understanding of what's acceptable in regards to the variance. How far left and right? What's your left and right limit in regards to
Mm-hmm.
this? I want you to be independent, but I still want you to be able to take some input. So these things were also promoted with the family dynamic, but that didn't have no room in the mission structure.
And the mission structure was like, I need you to check the fence. I need you to make sure, we're gonna talk about this hole in my damn fence. You understand? Like even all of the things, right? So it's still there, and there's a place, but in the commonality space, you have to understand who you're dealing with, who your children are, and all that. That's why there's no room for no outsiders, because you already got enough variables in regards to your own children, right? So the thing with the two cultures, right? The native culture towards nature, blah blah blah, right? We have overlap in regards to the cultural continuity, right? So this can look, harmonious, right? So when they had their own language, he made sure that they knew their own English wasn't enough, because everybody's speaking English. You understand? And English
Mhm.
now is associated with enemy. English is associated with the cannibals. English is associated with even the military that's supposed to be coming around, blah blah blah. And the fact that those cats was over there when they went on that little raid mission, and they was there talking about, oh, we with the blah blah blah. He said, oh, from such and such far. He was so right. He don't even know how right he was. That's where they was holed up at. So not just the people that lured them out, but this military. So that means that their farm was the talk of the network.
Mhm.
So people was plotting and scheming. So she would have had more enemies to contend with than she knew, right? That's why she just had to be mindful of monitoring. So she's surveilling them to not have herself in a position where she could be overrun, right? So when he's like, "Oh, such and such farm," yeah, and he shot the shit out of them. You understand what I'm saying? Like, yeah, oh,
Mhm.
immediately open up, boom, 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 right? So there's a space where you see his skill set on more than one level, right? His usefulness. This is why he's still around. This is why she chose him. This is why they together. Like this is the the means of their relationship and the means for those children, right? So somebody who keeps both sides of the traditions in their mitochondrial DNA.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So even when little Shorty was trying to do the whistle, you understand what I'm saying? It was like, yeah, like this means the difference between life and death, right? So when you're talking about the language, when you're talking about even the girl who was the nurse, he speaks English. You understand what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
like to that point where there has to be a point where you have a form of communication that's not decipherable, right? Not just radio communication, life communication, and especially in situations of emergency, right? So there are phrases that we would use, and I don't play that shit, sunshine. Like people just on the internet, oh, this means this, and when you hear this, it means this, and all that. Nah, no, 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 no. That's how people sneak in. This is how people encroach. This is how people get in your way. They use your password, and you thinking they're okay because they're speaking like you. Hell no.
Mhm.
So it has to be a space in the preservation of cultural continuity and in the preservation of uh, internal and external defense. You see what I'm saying? So in the military, we had a challenging password. So we had a challenging password that changed every day, and then we had a running password. I don't got no time to be trying to explain and advance and all that. I'm hauling ass back to the gate. I got such and such. So you know that behind me is trouble. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
whatever's chasing me, whatever's after me, you need to eliminate it. No questions asked. So if you're building up this network, if you're building up these off-grid societies, where's the case in regards to the language that's comprehensive that's being taught to the people who continue on, so they understand what this means? What the language is fortification, you are fortification, the land is fortification, and the land provides you the ability to be able to fortify yourself. So what's your ode to the land? Again, only certain people were having things grow. They weren't having anything grow. So they had a farm, but they might as well not had been a farm. Most of the farms. So the fact that they were growing things and they were keeping that under wraps because that's operational intelligence that you don't want to share because that's the thing that will have you being victimized. Now, what if a couple hundred people would have showed up, cannibalistic or the like? It's like, nah, we taking over this farm. What do you got? So very interesting in regards to the roles. Like I said, he had the nurture role and she had the nature role, but then she
Mm-hmm.
had the nature and the nurture role, and then he had a role that was complementary to her and whatever means it was. You know what I mean? Because they still
Yeah.
ran up on him, bopped him in the head, and then with the crucifying type of situation that they put on him, and I'm like, where they get these nails for his hands and his feet?
Yeah.
They crucified
They
and ate him.
nailed them
They
to
was
eat
eating him.
him.
You understand what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right. Oh, he about to slip out of that. So he slipped out of that because he was thinking about his daughters and he was thinking about what she said. Protect them. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's his order. You understand what I'm saying? So in the space where how do you have something militaristically and you can't obey an order? Don't make sense. You see what I'm saying? So this order, whether you know it or not, this order is given to you for your own good. You can analyze it and go through all of the things, but you're safe. You know what I'm saying? Like you're safe.
Mm-hmm.
This this is what that order brings. This safety. You see what I'm saying? So the chaos brings the chaos that comes along with it. But chaos precedes order, like the Now Valley culture. So yeah.
All good points. And to come back to the point of um coming back to the children. So thinking about the parable of the sower, I wrote it down, the four different types of ground to sow your seed. So one of them was path, and they say when you drop your seeds on the path, it's very vulnerable, and so it's easily snatched by evil. If you sow your seeds on rocky ground,
Mhm.
they're received with joy, but it doesn't last long because of the shallow roots that are formed in rocky ground. Then you have thorny ground, and the thorny ground is smoked out by worries of life and the deceit of wealth. So they don't stay there that long. And then you have the good soil, and that's understood in great harvest. So I think it's three girls and a boy, right? It's four of them.
Right. Yeah.
So when she was saying how she liked to read that book, and I went through my little rabbit hole of what's that book, and so
Mhm.
I started reading about it and stuff like that. Um, it made me think like, how was that being reflected in the story with these children, with these four children? Like,
Right.
which soil was each one of them considered as to be?
Right.
I personally would say that the youngest daughter would be considered the good soil because I feel like she had the best relationship with both the parents in that
Right.
lifestyle
Right.
because she's been so young and brought up in it. Um, I would say like, it's heavily rooted in her what's going on, more so than any of the other children who are older and had other lives before this catastrophic event. And, they're
Right.
coping with that. So there's some resistance and, they don't, some of the girls don't know the mom and and the son, he doesn't know the dad. So it's just that kind of, dynamic there. Um, So I didn't really pay too much. Maybe like for the son, I would say like the son might be maybe thorny ground, smoked out by worries
Mhm.
and the deceit of wealth, because he does get deceived in the film. And he does have this mindset of like there's more and better and we can do more and better and you know, like you said, like, yeah, they were trying to flourish, they were trying to expand and all these different things, but it was getting them in trouble every time. It was getting them
Right.
into dangerous trouble every time. Like every time this boy made a decision, somebody almost died. Like literally every time.
Right.
And so it's just it's that tug of war with that. Like, uh that idea of that there's better out there, even though you stumbling and bumping your head. So I would say like he was more so the thorny ground. And I don't know about the path and the rocky ground because I don't really pay attention to the other two girls too much.
Well, the path in the rocky ground exists between the youngest two, right? The youngest is the furthest, so I agree. But there's an intermediary between. If you got four, there's no distinct middle child, right?
Right.
So there's a thing between the two other girls, the one who got shot and the other one who was there that was talking about reading, the other book. You see what I'm saying? So they wanted to contribute to their learning. So a beautiful thing about it to counterbalance from what they were doing daily is they still had family and they still had homeschool, right? So
Mhm.
cultivating the land, securing the land, and then cultivating each other and in a way that pushes each other to excel, to be better, right? And
Mhm.
then there's still a space of real life education that exists. So now, for those people that are in the film that they saved their life, y'all asses is over here now. Y'all have to contribute. No, you can't. Where you going? You seen what's out there, right? So now the unknown that is there that the son wanted to have, fulfilled, he got it. You got it, okay? It almost cost you your mama. It almost cost you your sister. It almost cost you your stepdaddy. It almost cost you everything. You still want to
Mhm.
have your ass out there? No? All right, good. You got this girl. She in here now. She with you. You understand what I'm saying? She with you. So if she wasn't there, though, the father would be dead. The mother would be dead. You understand what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
she falls in line with a space to where she has the same sort of mind as the son, right? So it's a
Mhm.
perfect sort of situation. However, she could benefit from being around over there as well. You see what I'm saying? And then you just
Mhm.
have the workers. They just detach. Like, all right, I owe you my life. So what you want me to do? They're
Mhm.
not gonna be over there talking about, hey fam, I don't think I could do that. You understand what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
they're they're in the nucleus of the family, but they on the outs based off of how they was brought in. You see what I'm saying? So there's a there's a space to add more people to the table, but the people everybody at the table is gonna earn their way, right? Nobody's
Mhm.
over there slacking, like you were saying that she said. I ain't got the luxury, sitting on my ass and letting it help. You see what I'm saying? Like you got some slave shit going on over there. Like what you got? So these become the thing, and the thing that was bugged out to me was the asses was in these cans, like you were saying. They was in these jars. You understand what I'm saying? So they was in these jars. So that got a significance too in regards to the canon and preservation, but also the annihilation. You see what I'm saying? So like
Mhm.
this is how they see you. If you're useless, they talking this, useless eater type of situation, blah blah blah, and they're carnivorous in that. So the the flesh eaters, right? They're led by some Jesuits. You know, he's a
Mhm.
chump for all intents and purposes, right? He's a Jesuit with no backbone. He shook at the first sight of it, but he's talking all of this talk. So it's so easy to be like that other guy was in the book of Eli. That's why he was looking for the Bible so he could rule over. But he had, a strong cat with him. That's who really was in charge. Because if that dude said somebody had to go, this other guy was going to go do it, and the rest of the crew that's around that. So,
Mhm.
in return for that, they're in the space of the hierarchy that's not the top, but it's not the bottom. Ain't nobody running up on them, they running up on people, right? So if he had that book that he was looking for, he could have the whole society, and that became his downfall, right? So when Shorty was like, "I smell you, you stink," you know what I'm saying to him, like, "I smell you now," like, you, oh, you about to get some sepsis, like, I'm like, "Oh yeah," and she just laughed and walked off on it. You see what I'm saying? So that
Mhm.
space to where you know Buddy looks like he is the aggressor, like he's the one that's in charge and all that, and the tables turn in 4 seconds, and then next thing you know, he pleading for his life. You know what I'm saying? He pleading for his life. So the tables had turned, but it wasn't over because in that space he kind of had things under control, but on that level, and then you saw after that was removed, it was all out chaos everywhere. So everywhere is their farm. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a bunch of living dead running up on the farm now. So it's not controlled anymore. It's chaos. So
Mhm.
there's a dance between chaos and order too. Like those two children that are there that's not readily identifiable. Like this is the oldest, this is the youngest, who's the other two? They're in the middle. So there's a vying for position in regards to that back and forth too. So that identity can get caught up. You know, you got children, wherever their placements are, they're like, all right, I'm a this or I'm a that. You understand what I'm saying? And then when
Mhm.
somebody else come along, it upsets the order, it upsets the balance. You understand what I'm saying? Unless you the oldest, you ain't gonna never not be the oldest. If you the youngest, you were the youngest. You understand what I'm saying? So it just
Mhm.
continues to go. So the things you could have got away with, you know, being the youngest, all of a sudden you can't get away with it no more. Now you got a job too.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting in regards to these family dynamics that they're showing, and this prepper network, this survival mechanism. You know, the off the grid. You know, all of those things that are there, all of the tactics, the techniques, and the procedures that go away. You know, along with the good military operation, and then the family dynamic in that regard. There was some deficits that were fixed based off of it being exposed and an opportunity for those vulnerabilities to be seen. God help whoever tried to run up on that family now. You understand what I'm saying? It was
Right.
all good internally, but externally you got challenged and everybody survived. Nobody had to die because of it. So in your cultivation of the land, in your cultivation of being in tune with nature and understanding your nature and understanding your left and right limit in regards to that, and how far you go when there's a hole in the gate, like she kept talking about, right? It
Mhm.
becomes something for people uh, to see how you can overcome those weaknesses and vulnerabilities, and how you deal with threats internally and externally.
Mm. So, okay, so everybody, it seemed like it was this family, and like you said, it seemed like they were the talk of the town. Like everybody was plotting on them because everybody that came around them was coming around them to take. Like even like when she was on the phone with the woman, and she was like, "I told you about taking all them kids, all them," she was complaining about all the kids she had taken. Like you said, she kept saying,
Right,
"Come over, come over, come over."
right,
But that was the same thing the young girl was doing with the boy. Come over, help me, come here,
right,
come here. And she
right,
had all the kids. So like both of them seems like they was being like threatened to be ambushed. So they were gonna get ambushed regardless if the mother
right,
had went along with the lady, she seen it as a friend, or the son went along with the daughter. Like
right.
they was behind, both sides of it all. And then to also touch another point that you said about the son and having his like walking into adulthood type situation. I thought it was interesting how like with the daughter, they showed her having this whole ceremony and the mom passing her the torch and
Mm-hmm.
all these things. and she ended up being, injured first, literally
Right.
the next day. But
Right.
all this whole ceremony, but as the son is going through his, it's kind of like he's not given that same welcome.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, thank you for doing that, but I need you to do this and do this and do
Right.
this. So it's like his right to passage is not there. And it goes a little bit like, could it be going into the conversation of because his father is not present, or the man that he looks up to, which more so up to, which happens to be her father, is not there to
Mhm.
give him that. So it's kind of like a void of his experience of, okay, so who gives him that experience of having the torch passed to him and being able to dance at his renewal and his fire.
Mhm.
It's not being given to him. So he's like going through these things by himself. Meanwhile, the women are being nurtured because, the mom is there, doing the militant stuff, but also still, being there as a woman and reminding the men, hey, you need to watch your sister, or hey, you need to watch the
Right.
girls, or whatever.
Right. Right.
So that I found that to be pretty interesting too. That contrast between the man and the woman's rite of passage into adulthood.
And the
Uh,
void that went along. Go ahead.
no, I'm listening.
I'm listening. Also, I was just saying about the void. Right. There's a void that needed to be filled, and that was the reason for the rebellion. You know, on both sides, because when Shorty had her rebellion, it was met very swift, but then there was some honey that was put on it. All right, you get this done by the time we can do that. Like so, there was some sort of compromise, right?
Mhm.
With son, it wasn't. There was no frame of reference for him, right? And you have a man there, right, who would know what a rites of passage would be for a young man in his village, a young man in his tribe.
Right.
So my man's is he's supposed to be in his village. He's supposed to be in his tribe. Be inside of his mama. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So like, there's still no no clear distinction to where he's there with him, but he's there with his daughters like that. With his daughters, yeah, but with homie, like nah. So homie is out in the wind in an aspect like Shorty was. Again, this is her child. You see what I'm saying? She was the same one that was out. She was out in the wind, and she had to leave her home and go through her own rites of passage in regards to war. So she gave birth to a war child, and their rites of passage was war. So the war made sense. Regular life didn't really make sense because there's pain points with both of their existence that was supposed to bring them close together, but it was far apart. So after she scolded them and whatever, flipped the script on them, she's still like, "We need you." So she's pulling him the way she's getting pulled, and it's no avail to her. If she busts out crying in the room, what's he doing? He's getting angry. You understand?
Mhm.
So that is a pain point where which we have to address as family and we have to address as community. So there has to be some safeguards in place before things get post apocalyptic, even though we are there in that level of understanding and being able to talk through those emotions. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So that space where you're aware of your energy, because we got the energy awareness coach. Where are you in that moment, right? How can we de-escalate the situation? How can we not lose sight of one another? Because blind rage, everybody gets killed, everybody gets cut up, everybody gets bruised, everybody gets injured because it's blind fury. It doesn't matter, right? Uh, in the Nile Valley Pantheon, there's an aspect of Heru that they call blind Heru, where he can't distinguish friend from foe. So anything is subject to that. So that sounds like a tale, right? Until you deal with your immune system and you deal with those autoimmune deficiencies, where your immune system begins to attack key systems in your body, thinking that they're alien or enemy. So
Mm-hmm.
culturally, we have these cultural motifs, but they always point back to something that's real, right? So your reproductive system, all of these, systems in your body, your central nervous system, all of these things are subject to the thing that's supposed to be the safeguard for the body and the safeguard for the mind, right? So uh, they say disease can't exist within side of an alkaline body. What about an alkaline mind? So if your mind is bombarded with trauma and drama and continual replay, the dream that you brought up as key is like, okay, he has to be subjected to reliving his childhood trauma over and over, right?
Mm.
Over and over to no avail. And he don't even feel safe enough to tell the only woman that he loves in his life what he's facing because she's facing the same thing. So as a part of this network sort of situation, there has to be a space where which these courageous discussions or these bills or whatever sort of counsel, right? The Prince of Peace, the wonderful counselor that's Emmanuel, right? God with us in that space has to be in that environment. So we're looking at the Christ figure uh, in crisis. Who's there for Christ while Christ is going through the crisis?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely, something eye opening in that regard.
Definitely is. And I do like that opening that conversation to like tribal practices and
Mm-hmm.
seeing the unification of these two different tribes come together and form one family and
Mm-hmm.
see how, you know, these two tribes is being treated the same from from the entities outside of the land. You know,
Right.
they live on this land together. And I thought that was symbolic. These two different tribes living on this land together and these people coming onto their land, invading their land, trying to
Right.
colonize their land and consume off of them. Um,
And they got the asses handed to them. I love that. I loved every moment of that. Like, yeah,
mhm,
we're not pacifists. We're not out there trying to pray them out of the place. Nah, bang bang, lay down. I got a headshot. Bang bang. You understand what I'm saying?
right, right.
We gonna whistle
And it
while we
wasn't
work out
just
here.
like them, it was like even arming the little girl, you know?
Right.
We see the little girl as being the most innocent because she's, you know, a young woman, but also a child at the same time.
Right.
And even her, you know, being out of the three girls, it seemed like she was the one that was on her, she was on her shit the most, you know, as her mother,
Right.
you know, seeing that in that was pretty cool too. That was very symbolic as well. And then I also thought it was interesting how like, so they had the fire for the girl, but as a punishment, Emmanuel had to put the fire out.
Right.
You know, I thought that was a interesting scene too, because it was like not only did he not get to have his own type of experience, you know, into adulthood the way his sister is having, but he has to be the one to clean it up of the her. I don't even know, like I don't even know how to like fully interpret that too much, but like I just thought that was like an interesting take. Um,
And it shows more strife.
yeah,
Unbeknownst to us, from the parental perspective, we don't know the seeds of dissent that we sow within the children that we birth. The competitive nature is already there, but they're competing for your favor, right? They're
right,
competing for your favor. So now there's a situation to where, oh, well, how come he gets to go, right? That kind of situation, like, oh, he knows how to handle himself and he showed discipline. He ain't show no damn discipline. You
Right.
understand? So it's a space of favoritism that this is my son. We're not discussing this, right? These are undercurrents that you have to sift through and know from a familiar perspective what this looks like. Is this healthy or not healthy? Right? So he gets to look at his sister being celebrated. This sows some seeds of discontentment in his heart. And his punishment is because where you been? You understand? Like where you was at, fam?
Mm-hmm.
Like so that kind of thing. So because of that right there, you're not divulging, this intel that you found. Like, I gotta figure out something. And it was just in a good little vibe mood space. It was like, he was homeboy was talking a little slick. He was thinking, okay, tonight about to be, I'm saying, one of those, good nights. You understand? Like that line work, it still work. I still use it. You understand what I'm saying? Like so that kind of thing to where it's like, all right, it's about to be fun. It didn't Buddy show up and it's like he's raining on the parade, quote unquote. So he doesn't even get to enjoy his sister being elevated and being celebrated in the presence of the community, which just happens to be the family. So
Mhm.
the other sisters have something to strive for. So these become the takeaways that we can take into our circles, right? For our circle time, right? And use these things as an analysis. I got the power of the black family and securing the legacy. And then I also have another book, Beyond the Battlefield. See what I'm saying? So there's a space to where we're looking at the mind. We're looking at the mind. We're looking at the body. We're looking at this from a holistic perspective. So how are we looking at these things properly? And the last thing we want to hear as parents is that we're not doing good parenting, quote unquote. But our children are the test, right? And the testimony. So if we aren't coming to them and being real with them, and they ain't being real with us, we're all pretending, and we're both putting ourselves in blind spots and deficits. So if we not on the plantation, then we could throw away children that ain't supposed to be are supposed to be seen and not heard. If we not on the plantation, if we on the plantation, that still applies.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
breaking those barriers, breaking those plantation barriers of servitude, those bond servant barriers, and seeing yourself and seeing your ancestral genealogy in these children and knowing that they have a mission, aim, purpose, goal, and objective, and you have a duty to guide them along that path, right? But if you're
Mhm.
devoid of what you're supposed to have and need, then you'll be trying to make them little versions of you, and that's it. But they're supposed to be okay with that. So they're supposed to be okay with being silenced, with being tortured, with being verbally abused, emotionally abused, and physically abused, and they're supposed to be functioning adults in this society. And you ain't taught them how to be no adult. You taught them how to be an abuser and how to take abuse in the name of love. So they can't love you if they're not abusing you.
Mhm.
This is sickly, right?
Right.
Sickly. So these become the spaces that we are looking to attack and to eradicate because you can't have a functioning society with degeneracy and distrust and mistrust in it. And the distrust and mistrust ain't always external. Oftentimes it's internal. So the people who abuse you could be in your closest proximity. So we gotta be more vigilant in that regard, and get the help that we need along the path in order to not repeat cycles because cycles get worse over time. They don't get better over time. That's being repeated.
I agree. All in all, I think this was a really great film. I thought it was very symbolic to the cultural experience
Hmm.
of tribes, of women, of men, young men, generational healing, um, and then amongst a bunch of chaos going on outside. You know, you got the fall of the government. You got this fungus taking over all the animals and
Right.
the plants and stuff. You got these people turning into cannibals as a result. Everybody else stealing. You got all these things going on, and still managed to do all of this generational healing in the home.
Right.
I thought that was a really great contrast on so many different facets. I like the way that
Still
it
go
was
back to the
communicated.
table. Go
Hmm.
back to and go back and sit at the table, right? After
Yeah, they sat at the
everybody
table.
still with the continuity, with everybody working in their area,
Hmm.
they could come together and break bread. Yeah.
I
Wow.
love that. You know, all this chaos going on outside the home, and we still make time to have our celebrations, to create our own,
Right.
um, you know, rituals and holidays and celebrations, to, sit down and eat dinner with one another, We still speak life into each other and make time for joy amongst the chaos. And that's something that we have as a people have always successfully done, you know. And that's a superpower. That's
Right.
a superpower because that's what was keeping them alive, right? Could you
Right.
imagine if they weren't having a good time with their family for real, for real? They wouldn't have that much will of uh, to survive,
Right.
because like for what?
Yeah.
you know,
There's nothing
because
to
at
protect. Yeah.
their mindset on survival was not just for themselves, but also I got to survive because what's going to happen to my family if I'm not at my post,
Right.
if I don't show up? You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm not just willing to survive for me. I'm willing to survive because I got to stay a part of this compound and keep this thing going. Like even when the mom was crying bedside to her daughter, it was like, even if you don't pull through for me, do it for the land. Like,
Right.
like you ain't even got to do it for me. Do it for Mama Gaia. You know. And that was a deep moment too. Her praying at her bedside and saying something like that, like, do it for Mother Nature if you can't do it for me you
Right.
know, already having that mindset that she would not have done it if it was just for herself.
She was her joy. She was her own best part.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I can't do this without you. I can't do this without you. That was a deep mother daughter, Naomi Ruth sort of bond that they shared. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, the youngest one was the most pronounced because okay, this is all she knows, right? She grows
mhm,
up in this environment and she gets the benefit of both, not from wise tales, not from second, third hand, it's first hand. So she's got the mitochondrial DNA of everybody that exists in that society, and she gets to see it played out daily, right?
right, right.
So these things that happen aren't the norm, they're the exception. And they're so good at the exceptions because they train for it, they prepare for it, and they move, you know, together as a family. So they come away from these interactions and engagements like, all right, boom, daddy was on point, mommy was on point. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, that might have been some BS mommy said over there. Oh, dad was slipping over it. Like she gets the chance to sift through it and she gets to draw her own analysis uninhibited, right?
Mhm,
The older children, like you were saying, uh, they was victims of circumstance, happenstance. So they got to grow up in it and they got to try to figure it out in a certain kind of way. But nah, she sees the evidence, right? It's very evident. Like you always miss the heart. You understand what I'm saying? Like here you go with that BS. So you know, seeing that people are fallible, right? So she's learning in her own way of her own fallacy in that regard as well. So yeah, those left and right limits, and that's something that you learn with constructing a defensive posture position. So if like Shorty was in the window, right?
Mhm.
with the silencer. She knew the limitations of the weapon system. So she knew how far it was. Okay, so when they're inside this range, this is the radius that I can inflict bodily harm or death. Right? Outside of this range, I'm guessing. So there has to be some safeguards in place that meets that threat immediately. Right? So
Mhm.
munitions or something like what she said about the bullets. Like you don't think they got a whole arsenal in there. You think they got a couple of little something, something. You understand what I'm saying? But not resting on your laurels in regards to you got more. They have to be making bullets. You can't buy bullets now. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So they're not. They. I love how this director piecemeals the level of sophistication because it ain't for everybody to know. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Otherwise, they're holding all of these quote unquote prepper off the grid folks to this standard right here. Like this is the standard right here, and this is in Canada. This isn't every place else. This is localized to where this is. And because of the weather in Canada, the kind of environment, depending on which side of Canada you're on, you have the weather is your biggest factor in regards to wood grows.
Mhm.
The weather itself, too. So now you have to master the weather vane in regards to understanding your geology and your geography in regards to what to plant where and how and what the tests are, and then will your fortification stand up to the elements? So yeah, definitely dope. So will your fortification stand up to the elements? Your own personal fortifications, where your emotional, mental, your physical uh, fortifications stand up to the elements. You know, when you plant a seed, will it bear fruit?
Mhm.
Indiscriminate to where it's planted.
This was definitely a really good agricultural. Lots of seeds were planted,
Right.
plethora of seeds, and
Plethora.
invasive weeds, wildflowers.
And they had a little bit of that sticky icky over there. Okay, they
I
had a
I
little bit.
seen. I was like,
They had
okay,
a little
okay.
bit. Now they ain't look. They ain't even act like they wasn't. Had a little bit of the peace pipe
Gotta
popping up.
grow a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Keep the edge off. I wasn't mad, you
Not,
know.
not
I
even a
I
little bit.
I did like how they did put how people were coping. I got my vices, I got my moonshine, and I got my bud.
Right,
I'm minding my business.
right. And you stole the moonshine because you
Yeah.
you were the bootlegger. You wasn't the proprietor. You see what I'm saying? So again,
Mhm.
that still has to be grown. You can't distill something that's not grown. So whether it's medicinal in one way or fire water in the other way. And you seen what happened to them cats that was dealing with the fire water that got caught up. And
Mhm.
they end up in the damn tube or can. Cannon fodder out there. So, yeah, that's what's up. So do you got anything else you wanted to share or touch on in regards to this film? Because I know you got 6,000 other things going on. So I need to know all of the stuff that Sunshine Monet L got going on in life. Okay.
I ain't finna do none of it. I'ma lay here. Um, as far as my last takes on the film, I really enjoyed it. And the fact that the title is 40 Acres, and even though they had their acres, they still couldn't be left alone,
Right.
is the message. um, it just, when you watching it, just is the importance of family and connectivity and community and trust and definitely discernment. I know a lot of times we be meeting friends and shit, be wanting to think that they as loyal to us as we are to them. But I like that the mother kept the boundary to know that, hey, you'll never be invited to my barbecue. Cause I know I'll never be invited to your picnic when it boils down to it. And she was right. As cool as her and that lady was willing to try to lure her onto her farm so that them people could invade her land. And she ended up dying in the end anyway. Just like the mom said, if you see somebody, shoot them right away because they're going to be dead anyway. And that's what ended up happening. So, listen to your mothers because we be knowing. That's one. Two,
Bars.
the importance of just bask in the importance of community, walk in that importance, the importance of community and being around people you trust, not just to equip yourself for the apocalypse, but just that's where the strength is, that's where the motivation is, that's where the joy is at. If you don't have no connectivity with a community, the things that you're doing, they become meaningless and they become empty. And a lot of people are grasping for meaning in what they do, and that's because you don't have a community attached to it. You're lacking in that space of what I'm doing is contributing to a whole in some kind of way. And people long to do that. People want to do that. People want to support a community. People want to support people. Um, so, I would just say like if anybody takes anything from that, take that. Like, you know, I don't want to get too like specific about what I'm saying, but there is importance in community and keep it tight. That's my what do you
Right.
call it? My Jerry Springer moment.
Hey.
Take care of yourself and each other.
Sunshine, 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 sunshine. 'Cause I ain't giving no motherfucking uh, Germanic any props. Got the sunshine, sunshine, sunshine. Yeah, yeah. This film is perfect for a couple of books that was blessed to be able to create. I was like, man, this book, this book, this book, this book, this book, right? So the low hanging fruit in this regard might be okay, surviving the legacy, right? So pardon me, securing the legacy, and then, in the survival book, but there's so many more things.
Hmm.
Love was something that they had that nobody else had. They were devoid of love, and this is how they were able to eat people. This is how they were able to go and pillage. They were fighting because they loved one another. They might talk a little noise or whatever, blah blah blah, and have this little competitive spirit, but it still pushed them to be better, to love one another, right? And be. Could you imagine if the mother wasn't there no more?
Right.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. So, you know, uh, the coach that Denzel Washington played, and remember the Titans, what he said to the other coach. He's like, "Oh, I see you coddle these guys after I get at them." He said, "I'm a mean cuss, but I'm the same mean cuss to everybody."
Hmm.
It didn't matter what the players was, whether they was black or white. And in a time where this was segregated, like they had put together a real life team that was a championship contender because of the way that they went at this coaching development sort of situation, right? So Mama was a mean cuss, but they knew her heart. They knew why she was a mean cuss, right? Pops might have been able to play the little role that was cool, but he had to switch. He had the same switch that she had. It just wasn't presented with the same defects. It was he got the luxury of being able to play the back, and she had to deal with the brunt of the force of it. So it was just another dynamic that's interesting when intermingling and intermarrying, what it costs too. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because if it was a black dude and a black woman, they would have hated that black dude. That black dude would have been the enemy before the black woman would have been the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a space. So when I gave that other example of this mean cuss had a woman who was able to speak to his heart in a way that nobody could speak to his heart. Like I always go back to that film After Earth. After Earth with Will Smith and Jaden Smith. The counterbalance was the women that was in their life, right? So back to Gaia, back to Mother Earth. Mother Earth had got so sick, like in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
so sick of these gentrifiers, these colonizers, right? That she instructed the earth not to grow for them and to appear poisonous, and then only give of her bounty for those who honored her. So again, that was the saving grace uh, for the native because not being disconnected from the land, right? And that's the same thing that the enemies of the earth, the enemies of the planet, the enemies, the aversion to nature utilize from their intel gathering to be able to accost him. How else would he know to put this thing on his head? Put his headdress, right? You see what I'm saying? Like it was so much stuff that they was using in this thing. Like, okay, they're masquerading with your headdress. They're acting like they got superior military authority, but in essence, what were they doing? They were cannibalistic. And who are they? And what are they? Still cannibalistic, right? Can't just be content with this one thing that they have. Oh, okay, because it's not about sustainability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pillaging is about control. I ain't gonna use the R word. It's about control. Have nothing to do with even that sort of gratification. The gratification comes from subduing, from uh, oppression, not even submission, because submission is voluntary. Oppression is when that your ability to submit is gone. You're subjugated, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
subjugated under the rule. So being careful in our steps to not become the subjugators. You could be a ruler because you can rule righteously. But the subjugators, there's another space that come along in it that becomes oppressive and acting against the will. Right. So regardless of the mean cuss that existed from the mama, her strive was still to present that space where she had an understanding of where it was because it wasn't extended to her. She got to hear about it, and she got to hear about it from somebody who don't know her. Oh, your father has been over here and blah blah blah. You like, oh, who you talking to? You understand what I'm saying? Like, no, 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 no. I know this dude right here. Ain't none of this shit you talking about. So to see that transformation, even though there was a space where she fought it, she still adopted and adapted some of those ways because that was a way from her genuine spirit, something that she longed for, that she could only have her guard down from her family, from her man and her children. Everybody else, nah, shoot them in the head. I love it. I love it. I know you gave your sunshine word, but final thoughts and promotion. We promote over here. We promote. Okay.
Yeah. Y'all better start saving y'all seeds. You can get seeds from Seed Library at the library for the free.
Mm.
Um, save your seeds from your produce. Not easy to regrow stuff. I know onions and potatoes is growing in y'all cabinets right now. I'm gonna just go ahead and plant them, Jones. You can find me on all streaming platforms. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Sunshine 1AL, as it is written below me. I do astrology and numerology readings. I align your astrological placements into your sephiros and your chakras. And I can do it as a reading, or I can do it in an ongoing behavioral energy awareness um, therapy session situation. um, in addition to that, down here in Memphis, Tennessee, I host a open mic every Thursday at Gully's Jerk House on 5996 Knight Arnold Road.
Hey.
I also host an annual Cosmic Nobody's Convention. We are now in nomination phase, so you can go ahead and nominate your healers. I also make really nice jewelry and body home decor and a bunch of other things that I do. If you just reach out to me for a consultation, I'm just an overall healer. And if you need help in something, uh, you can call me. And if I don't know how to do it, I have a nice little directory. I can direct you to a healer who can. Um, I'm definitely here for community building. I do like helping people and consulting with people, and teaching is my calling. Uh, yeah, that's all I got. Think. I
Had to drop them bombs, okay? Because you do a whole lot more. It's a thousand other things attached to it. So hit her up for the consultation, okay? Get your life, get your family life, get your legacy together. All right? So we about to get up out of here, and y'all could go mind somebody else's business, okay? Bless nobody's, okay?
peace, y'all.
Peace.